If you like videos like this, go ahead and check out my blog, link down below, adaptivecontact.com. So let's go ahead and get on with the video. Oop. Glad I'm wearing iPro. In today's video, we're going to be talking about two different carry pistols. I took my Musoc 1911 and the APX Compact, the APX A1 Compact rather, and I took them both out to the range. I like them both as carry pistols. I'm very comfortable with the 1911. I can perform pretty well with that, in my opinion. But I can also perform very well with the APX A1 Compact, at least I have in the past. So I wanted to compare the two and kind of select what I would take with me, I guess, in the near future, or what pistol would be objectively better for me and my needs. So there's a couple things that I was testing. I was testing my ability to make hits, and I was checking my ability to make those hits under time. So with that said, I have some empirical data here, and I'm just going to walk you through it, but I think you can kind of get the hint of what's going on here. So I did 4 different categories. I did presentations, just one shot, and I did it 10 times to get an average of 10 shots, and then I did draw 1 shot on target, and mind you, the target was 10 meters away, and so it was just this little square about yay big, and so it wasn't even the size of a 3x5 card. It was actually pretty tiny. And so I was doing that from 10 yards. And actually, here is the target that I was doing. It's tiny, right? But we'll go ahead and talk about what happened. So I did both of these drills 10 times to get 10 shots total. And then these bottom 2, I did 5 rounds from presentation. And I recorded the overall time, the first time to the first shot, and the average splits. So, and then the next one was I drew and fired 5 shots as quickly as I thought I could make those hits, right? And again, I did overall time to a first shot, and then the splits, the average splits, right? Okay, so breaking it down, you can see here on presentation, 1.11 to 1 second. Objectively, that is better out of the 9mm. My accuracy was pretty darn good. I'll show a picture right here. And you can see between the two of them, I actually was able to hold inside that square. I didn't really have any problems with shooting with accuracy on any of these. So objectively, the APX is better by a hair, but you know, it is what it is. Now drawing, objectively, yes, by 0.7 of a second on average, I was better with the APX. And did it have something to do with these blacked out sights? Maybe. Or maybe it had something to do with, you know, something else that was going on or whatever, like me not wanting to put my finger on the 1911 trigger until I'm on target, because I know how sensitive they can be with a little bit of pressure. Because I can end up letting off a shot right here before my hands have even joined. But yeah, I've had that happen when speed is pushed, so I kind of learned from that. So that's just something I'll have to practice with on both. But I did pretty good. I was able to hold it into the square still. There was no real problems with that. Now, where we started having issues was the 5-shot presentations, and this was an issue on both of them. So with the 1911, I had an overall score, overall time of 3.84 on average. I had some lower and one higher. I did these drills 3 times each, right? To get my averages. That's 15 rounds total. And so 384 average overall time, presenting and doing 5 rounds, and 1.9 seconds. It's kind of a long time for some people. Being over a second can be kind of a long time for most people. But again, doing two-handed shooting and shooting at a target this big, you know, from 10 meters away, that's actually a pretty tiny target. And I was actually trying to get good hits. So relative to the size of target, like basically doing a perfect headshot size target, I think I did pretty darn good considering that was my first shot from presentation. Now my splits were 6.9. And so that's kind of slow for follow-up shots, but the closer you are and the more leeway you give yourself, like the bigger target, the easier you can close that up. And, you know, that's relatively easy. So for the APX, I got an overall score of, or time, of 3.32. So that's like a half a second more. That's more than a half second more. Now, is that something that, you know, you're going to necessarily feel a difference on? Maybe. It depends on how sensitive you are to time and feeling that under pressure. The first shot was at 0.92. Objectively, that is better. You're under a second. And my splits were at 0.6. Again, relatively slow, but our first but here. I marked all of the 45 hits with a little permanent marker, and I got a total of 9 hits outside with my 1911 from all these drills. All these drills are on here right now, but this is where my 9mm started opening up and shotgunning right now, because I started to get peripheral hits all around the target when I was doing this. So I was shooting fast, but I was sure missing fast, right? So that's the difference there. I was seeing good precision, and I started seeing like 1 or 2 rounds like come out. But I think I had the one here and here, all right, one here and one here. That was during the 3 sequences right there. And then my forearms were starting to get a bit tired after all that. And then I loaded up, did the APX, and it really opened up, right? So was it a fault of having worn out my forearms? Maybe. But the fact is that empirically, yes, I was faster, but I was missing fast too. I wasn't able to have that discipline not to, you know, have sympathetic movement. Now, on the draw, the overall was 4.79. And first shot of 2.31, not too bad, not that great from my standards. But again, I'm shooting a tiny target from distance, and 0.62, so I narrowed it down a little bit. But again, we can actually use this. This is where I started scattering a little bit, where I started having sympathetic movement, and we call that a clue. I'm starting to get worn out, but I was chewing out the center of this with the 45, right? I started going low. So I was starting to go into the stormtrooper status right there. And out of 15 rounds of 45, that's not bad that, you know, out of all of that, all 30 rounds that I fired in 45, only 9 of them were outside that square. And they weren't that far out. They weren't that bad, really. They were okay on windage, I guess you could say. Now, with the APX, 4.48. The total time, 2.25, so it's a little bit better, but not by much. Not a perceivable amount that you're even going to notice. Not even 0.1. You're not even going to perceive that. So splits of 0.55. Better, Yes, I mean that's a good split. I guess when you're coming down from point 0.6, so my splits actually did improve on both of them by about 0.05 of a second per shot. However, that was like most of these rounds. I mean, out of 30 shots total with the 9mm from all those groups, more than 20 of them are outside that square. That tells you something. Like, objectively, this might be a 9mm and people are like, oh, it recoils less and stuff. That doesn't matter. Your ability to interface with a design, no matter what caliber it is or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you can work good with a bigger caliber, then you need to do it. I've seen my wife take a 40 caliber pistol, and she's able to work better with that than she is with a 9mm. It's just a mental thing that human beings deal with. There's nothing, you cannot objectify that or make that an objective analysis or whatever. Yes, I could work with this pistol and dial it in on the accuracy and still hold those times or get them lower. But guess what? I could also do that with this pistol too. And I'm already where I want to be, and as far as like I'm very close to the times that I want to be at. I need to be under a second on this. I want to be under 2 seconds on the draw. I want to have a better score here. I want to be under 3 seconds for 5 rounds from presentation. That's just ridiculous to me, but I'm shooting at a tiny target, right? Usually for like the Bill Wilson drill, you're shooting a little bit closer and you got an age zone, which is relatively big, right? Like a 5x7 or something like that. Or like a paper plate size almost. I could scatter that. But here, I'm drawing and I'm still under 5 seconds. So that's okay. But, when I started messing around afterwards, this is where we started seeing a real opening right here. So the top target was my 1911 and the bottom was the APX. And I was just doing some fast fire, like you see in the B-roll. But the spread on my APX, when I was concentrating, I was trying to get all the hits into this square, and my spread was 7 3/4 inches, where this one had the random flyer. If I didn't have that random flyer, I would be sitting good, doing pretty well, but it's sitting at 7.5. Objectively, this is better, right? Well, that's the thing. As you can see, I chewed out a lot more here, and it was more concentrated in the box than I did here. Now, was it relatively slow fire on both? Yeah, it was relatively slow fire. I was going as fast as I could accurately hit. I wasn't just dumping these just to do it. I felt like I was right on and I was doing a good, trigger manipulation without sympathetic movement. But I wasn't, all right? You can't always feel everything that you're doing. And, I'm glad that I didn't take that many rounds to the range because I would just be reinforcing bad habits. I need to be getting my dry fire in because, I've been kind of out of the game for a little bit. But, I'm pretty comfortable carrying a full-size 1911. I can obviously make my hits. I can push speed a little bit, but I do need to practice. It's my responsibility, right? So anyways, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. If you own, one of these pistols, if you carry a 1911 or you have like an APX or something, let me know in the comments below, especially you APX owners. I don't see that many out there. It feels like I'm one of the only gun tubers really giving this thing love in the, 2025. But anyways, thanks a lot for watching, and check out my blog, link down below, and you guys have a good one.